Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some crypto news for you. Today we're going to be talking about Robinhood and them getting a subpoena from the SEC. We're going to talk about Gary Gensler now saying that Bitcoin is the only crypto that's not a security, as well as Janet Yellen, what she had to say regarding banning cryptocurrency. Ladies and gentlemen, towards the end of the video, I'm also going to kind of share with you my thoughts or my philosophies on how in the world I invest in the cryptocurrency space. Someone said to me, hey, with all this regulation and all this uncertainty, how do you think about investing? So I'll be sharing that with you a little bit later in the video as well, because genuinely, I believe this technology is going to change the world. But we're going to have to overcome these regulatory hurdles, and I'm not optimistic on the price of cryptocurrency in the short to medium term, but I'm still a cryptocurrency investor. How is that possible? What are my thoughts? My overall philosophy, I'll share that with you a little bit later towards the end of the video. First things first, Robinhood received a cryptocurrency related subpoena request from the SEC. So this actually happened. Robinhood didn't come out and put this in like a press release. They submitted their 10K filing, which is a filing that public companies have to submit in the US. And on that 10K filing, they let it be known that they had received this subpoena from the SEC. Now, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. Since they got the subpoena from the SEC following the collapse of FTX, and Gary Gensler is the head of the SEC, I'm wondering, since Gary Gensler did not investigate FTX at all, and there's evidence that he was incredibly cozy with Sam Bankman-Fried, who was the founder of FTX, I can't help but wonder, is this Robinhood subpoena kind of a way of CYA cover your assets for the SEC and Gary Gensler? I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I tend to think that's what's going on here. But what's interesting is they talk about, uh, you know, what, where's it at here? Right here. Robinhood noted that to the extent the SEC or a court determines any cryptocurrency it supports are securities, Robinhood could be forced to stop trading those cryptos. Such action could result in regulatory penalties, customer liabilities, and individual or administrative actions. The one that bothered me here is customer liabilities. The idea that as a cryptocurrency retail investor, that Robinhood, the exchange that you may have chosen, not me. By the way, I'm no fan of Robinhood. I would never recommend someone trade crypto on Robinhood personally. That's just me personally. But if you were, and a lot of people are trading cryptocurrency on Robinhood, and suddenly they're not allowed to trade any longer, and you're stuck holding a cryptocurrency that's going down in value, and if you're a newer investor and you don't really understand, which a lot of Robinhood investors do not know how to take their cryptocurrency off of Robinhood. In some ways, there's been reports that Robinhood even discouraged people from doing that. So there's a lot of new investors using Robinhood, and all of a sudden, you don't know how to take your funds off of an exchange, and those funds are losing value, losing value, losing value, all because the SEC chose to go after Robinhood. And must I mention one more time that the the SEC never investigated or stopped FTX. Enough said about that. Let's keep going. Some more news about Gary Gensler. So he's confirmed that he made a statement where he said everything other than Bitcoin is a security. Now, this is a problem because obviously Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency. Obviously, it's a decentralized proof of work cryptocurrency. But there are other decentralized proof of work cryptocurrency. I would love to know exactly why he says Bitcoin is not a security, but everything else is. I can't help but wonder, like I get this impression that Gary Gensler is like this closet Bitcoin maximalist. Because I truly believe that this is what a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists out there would do if they were in Gary Gensler's position. They would do whatever. They're all for decentralization. They're all for everybody choosing their form of money. But somehow they want to run around Twitter and call everybody idiots that don't believe wholeheartedly in exactly what they believe in, how they believe it in cryptocurrency, which is the exact opposite of the purpose of having freedom of finance, freedom of choice, and decentralization. If you agree with me, do me a favor and smash that like button. Gary Gensler is calling everything a security, and this is difficult because some people like to say the SEC can't create regulations. Well, they kind of are. They obviously can't create laws, right? But when you're able to sue a company and say that their token is an unregistered security, if you're able to do that, you're going to create some court precedents that could potentially be treated like law long term down the road. Never mind the fact, what does this actually do to other projects that want to innovate? I truly believe innovation happens at the grassroots level. The really smart student or the really smart professor at some sort of university somewhere, he's got an idea and he starts going to work on it. And then lo and behold, he has a project, he has a company. He hires a couple of programmers, or it's somebody in their garage somewhere who's smart, and they got a developer or they're a developer, and they start creating this project, and all of a sudden it starts to work, and all of a sudden it creates a community. There's people using that project. I mean, that's innovation. But none of that innovation will exist if we say that you have to spend literally millions of dollars to become a registered security. Where are those guidelines? And how expensive is it? And what happens once they actually do register? What sort of rules do they have to follow now that you're not going to allow them to do because it breaks securities laws? Like, I think people aren't always asking these questions. Now, Janet Yellen is calling for a strong regulatory framework. The key word here being strong. And my question is, how strong is strong? Speaking to Reuters, Yellen said it was critical to put in place a strong regulatory framework. She also noted that the United States is not suggesting an outright banning of crypto activities. Now, I think part of that is because they know that they really can't outright ban crypto activities. I mean, it's really impossible. They can discourage it, but they can't really ban it. They're not going to ban crypto, and a lot of people see this as positive, but they can effectively ban it. I mean, listen, if they say that you and I can't send peer-to-peer transactions because we can't KYC each other. That was already attempted. That draft was already attempted by law, and it didn't go through and become a law. But it doesn't mean that that's not going to gain steam in the future. If they get to that place where you and I can't send cryptocurrency transactions to one another, that's a problem. Now you have to go through banks because it's for your protection. It's safer for you because banks can't collapse, right? Bear Stearns didn't collapse, right? That's sarcasm. But you have to go through banks and buy cryptocurrency. And potentially you can't even self-custody, depending on how strong this framework is. I can tell you that, a lot of people don't understand why regulations would be unfriendly to cryptocurrency because there's a lot of money made in traditional finance. And if people started off-ramping some of their traditional financial funds, if they started saying, hey, I don't want that money in that mutual fund, I don't want that money in that IRA, I would rather that money being over here in these cryptocurrency assets. I don't want JP Morgan to make commissions for managing my portfolio. I would rather have a DeFi portfolio that I can control. Do you think JP Morgan or said bank wants to lose billions of dollars over the course of several years in just fees and commissions earned? Do you think they want to lose that? Of course not. So if all it takes is you have to find a way to get into the good graces of one powerful politician, a Janet Yellen, for example, a Gary Gensler, for example. I mean, it's not hard to imagine through some sort of backdoor channels that they would attempt to pay off somebody if they could, or promise them some sort of high-paying job in the future. All of that's possible. Let's just pretend for a moment that you were the CEO of some sort of financial institution the size of Goldman Sachs or bigger, and there's one person responsible for making laws or rules or regulations or creating legal hassles like an SEC investigation. And you had the ability to buddy up with him, cozy with him, and find out what it would take, even if he was corrupt. And he said it would cost you $10 million and you got to find a way to get it to me. It would be worth it for you to pay the man $10 million if possible, because your company is going to make far, far more than that. Corruption is easy, especially for these large corporations. And so when people are asking for regulations, I don't think they always know what they're asking for. And so far, regulations have not been friendly. By the way, I'm still hopeful long-term for cryptocurrency, and I'll talk about that a little bit later towards the end of the video. So this is just the current environment that we're in. I mean, I think once we get on the other side of this, then it's possible blue skies for the price of crypto. We just don't know how far and how long and how deep this dark tunnel is going to be for cryptocurrency. Now, what is positive is that the price of Bitcoin has not dipped a whole lot in the past couple of days. The price of Ethereum has not dipped a whole lot. I mean, this is not positive news. There was a time when this news would really shake up the market and you'd see the price dip 5+% in a day. That's not happened yesterday or today. So I think that's positive news overall. I come across this tweet. Now that Gensler has made it clear that he regards every single token, including stablecoins, other than BCT as securities under U.S. law, can we start asking what is the plan here? So he comes down in this thread. By the way, I'm not certain who this gentleman is. I just read this. I just came across this. I encourage you to go check this guy out. Heck, go give him a follow. CoinGecko puts the total crypto market cap at $1.1 trillion, consisting of 12,306 tokens. BTC's 467 billion, 40% of that. The hypothesis is this would mean that 12,305 tokens, roughly $663 billion in value, are illegal in the U.S. because they trade publicly as unregistered securities. Think about the implications of that. So far, the SEC has handled tokens in mainly two ways. One, they fine plus a registration requirement. This failed every time so far with the companies becoming bankrupt. So when people say they can't ban cryptocurrency, that is essentially a ban when the company goes bankrupt. Fine plus order to destroy all pre-mined tokens and delist the tokens from all exchanges. Both ways, tokens go to zero. And by the way, who's hurt here? The investors in those tokens. A third way is how they handled Kick token, which that happened a couple years ago, which they just charged a fine, but not required tokens to be destroyed or delisted. No other project has gotten this benefit in an enforcement action. The Kick token was one of the first enforcement actions that happened, if I remember correctly. The SEC registration is not only too expensive for most token creators. This is the key right here. Registering as a cryptocurrency as a security is very, very expensive. There is also no clear path for registration of tokens, no matter how many times Gensler says otherwise. There are too many novel questions. For example, is every protocol change a new offering? And no roadmap. He's exactly correct. So what is the plan here? Since registration is not feasible, it can only be number two. Everyone pays huge fines, stop working on the protocols, destroy all dev pre-mines, and delist token from trading. That would mean 12,305 lawsuits and wiping out $663 billion in value from the market. This is a great question. Why do journalists not ask Gensler about this in his countless media appearances? Why do they let his claims of just register go unchallenged? What is the plan? We are all wondering, and billions of American dollars are at risk. In my personal opinion, I think they just need to leave cryptocurrency alone. Now, how do I invest in this space? Well, there's a reason I've never started a project. I've had a lot of developers reach out to me. And one of the reasons I haven't started a project is because of the very concerns here. I understand from my years in business, the government can always come after you for something that was legal or it was not illegal when you started it. Like it wasn't illegal when XRP started selling tokens. That wasn't illegal. Same thing with library credits. They literally reached out to the SEC at the launch of their company 6 months later, asking for guidance, trying to do their best to make certain they were white hat, they stay on the right side of the law. And yet the SEC still went after them and has basically screwed them. So one thing that I personally have done is I've not started any sort of projects because I did not want to cross that line unknowingly. And I'm a great example of how regulations can stifle innovation because I've got plenty of ideas. I've done some consulting with projects, but I personally have never done my own project, mainly because two reasons. One is I haven't found something that I wanted to be committed to basically for the rest of my life, because I think to do a cryptocurrency project right, you need to be committed to it for the rest of your life. The other reason I haven't is because I'm worried about how future regulations could potentially affect any project that I started. And I just don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, one more point to that. This article here, it seems unrelated, but I think there could be some relation here. Well sells 1,010 NFTs in 48 hours and largest NFT dump ever. 1,110 NFTs. This is a ton of money. Most of these, by the way, they're selling at barely break even. I'm not certain how much of a loss they're taking, but I don't think any entity bought 1,000 NFTs with the expectation of selling so soon, or selling at break even, or selling at a small loss. My guess is this is some sort of corporate entity, and they're looking at the what Gary Gensler's doing, and they don't want no one to come back and say, hey, this is a security. They can't handle the risk as a corporate entity, maybe even be a public entity. My hunch or my thought is someone's hedging their bets. They're worried about regulations. But again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Unclear regulations and strict regulations is going to hurt innovation in this space. I wanted to come over here because I posted this. The Predator put this up, and I thought it was great. The crypto industry needs regulatory clarity. This is this lawyer here. Everything other than Bitcoin is a security. He's over here saying, no, not like that. This is how I often feel when I hear crypto investors saying we need regulation. Traditional finance is full of regulations that are not helpful to investors or innovation. Ever wondered why there's not more small banks starting up? And if I had a room, I would say starting up in your community. Clue, expensive regulations. By the way, I looked into starting a bank one time. We looked at what it would take to start a small local bank. It is ungodly how expensive and how difficult and how unclear the regulations are. In fact, there's people out there who used to you could pay and you paid them a fortune, like an insane amount of money to come in and start banks. And there's a whole business model where you can start a community bank knowing that one of the big banks is going to eventually gobble you up, because even not starting it, not only is it expensive to start, it's expensive to maintain from a regulatory perspective as well. It's very, very hard. It's very challenging. Sure, there are still some smaller banks out there, but we don't see nearly as many as we would if it wasn't for regulations. I don't think strict regulations are going to be great long term for cryptocurrency investors or the cryptocurrency ecosystem or small innovative cryptocurrency projects. With all that being said, how in the world do I invest in in this space? I have an investment philosophy that I learned from a financial mentor of mine years ago, and it's this philosophy here. Try to be right even if you're wrong. So I always have some sort of a underlying philosophy or underlying thesis to my investing. And my personal, this is not financial advice for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a financial advisor. But personally, my underlying belief is that cryptocurrency changes the world and that eventually the citizens of the world will peacefully revolt an economic system that continues to devalue their currency every single day. It amazes me. People are like, I want to hold stable coins because I don't want the volatility of cryptocurrency. The US dollar is guaranteed to go down in value. People don't realize it because you don't see the value lost in the US dollar when you compare dollar to a dollar. But essentially, it means dollars buy less every single year. Your dollars are getting devalued every single year. Major cryptocurrencies have massive historical price appreciation. US dollars have guaranteed price depreciation. And I believe at some point in the future, citizens of the world, citizens of the US and other developed countries and third world countries as well, will start to opt out of our current economic system. I personally believe, my personal conviction is that will happen at some point in our lifetimes. With that being said, I invest in cryptocurrency knowing that. But I also understand that the way I can be right, even if I'm wrong, is strategically taking profits off the table, investing in projects and understanding how to get my investment out. Diversify inside of cryptocurrency. One thing you'll notice about my channel, I talk about all sorts of stuff. I talk about how to get passive free crypto. I use things like the CryptoTab browser. I use, free Bitco. I use all these different apps where I make, probably altogether maybe a couple $100 in passive cryptocurrency every single month. And I used to cover a lot of that on my channel. I also diversify by trading cryptocurrency through more traditional TradeFi vehicles. I also hold cryptocurrency. I also have real world businesses. I also have real world investments, meaning traditional investments like real estate, stocks. So I'm always diversifying. But at the same time, I also don't know if the price is going to go up to 100,000 from here before we get stifling regulations. I do think that when the regulatory framework is put out, my belief is it will not be banned. And at one time I thought maybe it would be banned, but I'm now at the place where I don't think it will be banned. I just think average users like you and I are not going to be able to easily transact with one another. I think they want to stop the narrative of money. They want to focus on the narrative of store of value, and they want us to purchase cryptocurrency through large banks, which are going to claim those banks are going to be safe custodians for our cryptocurrency. They may not even want us to hold cryptocurrency in our own decentralized wallets. That could happen. And if that happens, that's going to prevent a lot of DeFi from developing. DeFi, as we know it now, is going to almost not exist. And I think that's going to hurt the overall price of cryptocurrency at that point. I don't know when that's going to happen. So am I still investing in cryptocurrency? Absolutely, every single day. However, I understand specifically in altcoins how to take profits. I did a video that I put up this morning right here. Next altcoin could 10x. I'll put it at the top. I'll put it on the end screen or whatever. In this video, the whole framework that I have for the Bone token, I do that with all of my altcoins. And my whole goal is to get a moon bag that is essentially free. And then I'm going to hold that indefinitely. If you want to know more about exactly how I do that, you can come watch this video. But the philosophy is you've got to try to be right even if you're wrong. So if I'm wrong and cryptocurrency does, if Bitcoin doesn't go to $1 million hypothetically, if I'm wrong and that doesn't happen, how can I protect my finances anyway? Well, I can diversify into other cryptocurrency assets. I can take some of my crypto profits and pull them outside of crypto. I don't like to do that, but I do that. I can put some of my crypto assets for now in stable coins. I don't like to do that, but I do that sometimes. Why? Because I understand I need to be right even if I'm wrong. If I think we're going to have stifling regulations and it doesn't happen, how can I be right? Well, I keep investing in Bitcoin. I keep investing in Ethereum to some degree anyway. Because no matter what, I want to own it and I don't have a crystal ball. So I don't need a crystal ball. I just need a framework on how to invest. And part of that framework specifically for altcoins is what I was covering in this video here. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you've enjoyed this edition of Crypto News. If you have any comments, please put them down in the comment section down below. I would love to interact with you. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow I got a video coming out for you. I've got a brand new altcoin I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be launching. It's not launched yet, but I got a little bit of alpha on this, and I'm going to be sharing that with you tomorrow on my channel. I think this could be an incredible, incredible project. That it's really a technical innovation that we need. And quite honestly, I shouldn't say this, but it really is a technical innovation that could allow us to resist an overreaching government. That's all I'm going to say for now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click that bell notification icon and click all. Ladies and gentlemen, if you believe in the future of cryptocurrency, make certain that you smash that like button. Decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.